Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring Stipth in the top left corner, playing our blue Zerg, and in the bottom right we have ANGERCOLON, a far more easy to pronounce name. Stipth giving the old Z to ANGERCOLON's KK. I don't know what that means to ANGERCOLON, but evidently it means something to him, so good for him. ANGERCOLON is a kind of a teal color, which tells me that this is not a ladder match, so maybe it's between friends. Practice match, I know Stipth is in diamond, so I'm assuming that ANGERCOLON is in a comparable level of play. Looks like Pylon being dropped in the bottom corner, ANGERCOLON going for that Forge Fast Expand. Oh, the Z was for Zerg, so if Stipth is now doing random, he was letting ANGERCOLON know that he was playing against a Zerg, so that ANGERCOLON knew to scout or what build to start off with, because it's something that he probably would have on a ladder match, unless the guy's laddering in random. So that's a good play. That is a good play. Ohana has been around for quite a while. It's a good map to actually practice on. Small ramp leading down into the natural, some destructible debris leading off into the third. Got to take those down if you're going to take the third, unless you are incredibly ballsy or just reckless. One way or another, it looks like ANGERCOLON is going to get into the main to spot that spawning pool, drop down at about the 15 supply. Rather standard, certainly on the size of this map. So no cheese coming out of Stipth, no super early gas coming out of ANGERCOLON, and that Forge is getting ready to be dropped. Though Colon is floating quite a lot of money, he might be going Nexus first. He's got his probe in position. He also has a probe in position up at the natural, and it looks like he's going to go for a denial with his probe. Check out the mini map. He's dropped that Nexus just as soon as we moved away, and Stipth is actually floating quite a lot of money. He really wants to drop down that hatchery. He's got another drone coming out, probably to chase down ANGERCOLON or to scoot over to the third to drop his own expansion. ANGERCOLON just checking that third to make sure that there wasn't one already down, but he just missed it. But he can expect that 3 hatch is going to go up shortly. Canceling the pylon, but he's got that Forge up, misplaced for the gateway, but the gateway is coming up just right behind it. Still quite a lot of money. Very frustrating for Stipth, I'm sure, having to deal with that pylon continually being canceled and then warped back in. And he can do that. ANGERCOLON can do that because the hatchery did go down, and it cost Stipth the money that he was going to spend to make the hatchery over here. And with that money gone, he can afford to just cancel it and do whatever he wants. I guess he's canceling it again just to recoup some of the money, and is content with letting that expansion go up. Probe's going for one more scout into the main to see that there's no gas. With a 3 hatch, that's kind of normal. You really want to spend the majority of your money saturating all of your expansions, and then finally get like a ridiculous amount of gas, like 4 geysers at once, depending on the build you want to go. Cybernetics core and another gateway to complete the wall off for ANGERCOLON. He's got to be mindful of the destructible debris over on the left side of his base. It's kind of a back door. The photon cannon will afford you some defense in the front, but he knows that with the 3 hatches going down from Stipth, he's not going to have to deal with some super early aggression. Most of the money, most of the time from Stipth is going to be spent on saturating all of these different expansions. Still no gas out of Stipth. Again, I'm not concerned about this. He is building another queen, probably to sit it down into the natural. But the third has yet to get her queen, but he doesn't really have enough money. So it looks like we're going to be sitting back and relaxing for quite a while. Wow, 3 gas out of ANGERCOLON. That's a hint of the build that he's going to be going. Something a little bit more gas heavy, no 2-base timing off of gateways at least. It's possible he'll get in the 7 gate. I don't know. What's really telling is the next 2 buildings he's going to throw down. Probably one's going to be a gateway and one's going to be a robo. But if he throws down a starport, then we'll definitely see some cheese. He's got to be mindful of this overlord here. He's probably going to wait to throw down those buildings until after the stalker gets out to deal with that overlord. He's also got to worry about suicidal overlords coming in from any direction from his base. Scouting is so incredibly key in this matchup. geysers coming up for Stipth. He's got a Roach Warren and an Evo chamber. He's not going to blow through a ridiculous amount of gas, but he's probably going to want at least one more geyser if he's going to be playing a primarily ground-based Roach play. But that is up to him. Hey, check this out. Stargate in ANGERCOLON's main, just on the north side, well away from the Suicidal Overlord. Stipth has got to know about the top corner. He's probably going to know that he doesn't know on the left side of the main. And he's also got to be worried about anything that's going to be built down here. So those are all areas that Stipth needs to scout. But it looks like the Stalker is actually going to work. It's weird to have the Stalker underneath the Overlord because that's the way he's going to get pushed. Did he see it? I don't know. He saw the pylon, but he didn't see the actual tech structures, which is great because another Stargate's going down and a robotics facility. Stipth knows that he's going to be behind a little bit as far as aggression comes for the next, 2 minutes or so. He's got to be worried about a timing coming out of ANGERCOLON, and air is pretty powerful on this map because you have all this open air space right over here that you can kind of hide your void rays and then swing in and just decimate probe lines and then pop over. If the destructive debris are out, it's even worse, and just destroy that one. And then with the Forge Fast Expand wall complete for ANGERCOLON, he's going to be very secure, even with the back door being secured by a photon cannon. So there's not much Stipth can do to stop the harassment coming out of ANGERCOLON with all these void rays, but he does need to get down some static defenses, and it looks like that's part of his build because he did not scout the void rays being constructed, yet he's got 2 spores on the way, which is really going to help him out because if these void rays, 2 of them get in, take out the queen, 2 spines and a spore is really going to save the drones. And if these void rays got in and killed the queen and then all the drones, even with 1 expansion, that would be a major deficit for Stipth. Focusing down the spine crawler instead of the queen, which is the only anti-air currently here, but another 2 spores are on the way, so there wasn't much a single void ray could do. It looks like we have another one on the field and several more on the way. 2 robotics facilities, both bringing out immortals. What are the chronos looking like? Not saving the chronos. He's expending them as they are coming in. He's getting level 1 air as well as ground. And let's check out what Stipth's using. He's got a Hydralisk Den on the way, so a Roach Hydra Misc, pretty good for dealing with airborne Protoss aggression. He's also got some upgrades coming out, level 1 or level 2 missile. Wow. So he was definitely intending on using the roaches, and the upgrades that he's got are going to assist him switching up to some more gas because eventually he'll want to get a bunch of corruptors out to deal with this air. Corruptors are incredible against all manner of creatures, most notably Colossi, which ANGERCOLON is getting that robotics bay, so he's intending on teching to it. Idle Stargates right now, but he's got a ridiculous number of void rays out right now, 5 of them. This could just decimate any one of these bases. 2 spores at the natural. It looks like just two at the main. But again, the queens, they're connected by creep. They can respond pretty quickly. And then with the Hydra's den being built, if there was a major push coming out of ANGERCOLON, those Hydras could respond pretty quickly and deal with the with the void rays. However, with the Colossi tech being constructed, the Colossi are going to just melt those Hydras because they're so weak, very delicate. We have Colossi range coming out, so it's not a warp gate or a warp prism tech. Overseer has been spotted. He's going to come in and see all the tech, basically. He's got the robotics facility. He's got the Robo Bay scouted, so he knows that a high-tech force is going to come out of ANGERCOLON. You can see that the units on the ground really aren't gateway heavy at all. It's just got a couple of zealots, not really going to be useful in absorbing a lot of the fire and protecting the Colossi. I expect with the multiple gateways being built now, we'll have more and more zealots, sentries, be added in so that they can control the ground as well as the voidways controlling the air. Spire just now being started for Stipth. I think ANGERCOLON is going to wait a little bit longer. He's taking down the destructible debris. He's taking the 3rd. He's not going to be pushing out anytime soon. So Stipth has enough time to get the anti-air up necessary to control the battlefield. It's really going to hinge on anti-air. as far as Stipth is concerned. The Hydras aren't going to be very useful unless all of the Colossi are down, because those Colossi are just going to melt through them. So Corruptors are really going to be the go-to unit for Stipth. He's got plenty of money. He's floating almost K of both. So he can definitely produce the Corruptors necessary. But if he goes for this Ling Hydra composition, he's going to see everything just absolutely melted away. And this is one of the benefits for ANGERCOLON, is seeing all these Overlords kind of huddled above the Spore Crawlers. They're scared of the Void Race, which are just patrolling constantly, denying scouting. Because ANGERCOLON really wants to make Stipth choose the wrong unit composition, which he has, which he's absolutely done. The Hydras are going to get decimated by those Colossus, like I've said like 80 times now. You guys are probably tired of me saying it. But if Stipth knew this unit composition, I expect we would have seen a huge swell of Corruptors, and that's it. Those Corruptors could control the air completely, and then the ground-based play is really just a kind of a stunted Immortal with some Zealots and Sentries, which can be dealt with pretty much any tech from the Zerg, because it's such a small force. But if we had enough Colossi out of Stipth, he could, Corruptors out of Stipth, those Colossi would fall, and then the Void Race shortly thereafter from the Hydras, which can do some magnificent DPS as long as they stay alive. But this is definitely approaching a death ball out of ANGERCOLON. He's got 3 Colossi, 7 Void Race, a lot of Sentries, which will be very helpful in controlling the ground. And then he's also got 5 Immortals, which will be very, very key as Stipth kind of tries to replace his army. A lot of the go-to replacement tech is Roaches out of Zerg. They really are cheap, they're fast, and they're strong, but those Immortals will absolutely tear through them. So I think that's why those units are in the unit composition kind of as a fallback. He's one-upping him very meta in the unit composition, but it's very effective. Twilight Council is probably just to get the charge, but maybe we'll see some Archons out on the field later. That would be great. They're pretty units, very pretty. Upgrades, yeah, let's pay attention to the upgrades. It looks like Twilight Council is actually there to unlock the next tier of upgrades. So we've got 1-1 for the ground. How are we on air? Just +1 for the air. Still no air units out of Stipth, but we do have 2-1 for Stipth, which will definitely help him. The Roach number is very, very small, but the Infestors will probably help controlling some of the air. No Parasite, so he won't be able to mind control any of the air units or ground units, I guess, if Colossi get close enough for it. But the Fungal will be helpful because this unit composition really relies on that death ball mechanic. ANGERCOLON's moving off, making his presence known into the main. This isn't going to be a terrible sight for Stipth. Even though both armies are max, Stipth is definitely behind in the unit composition. ANGERCOLON definitely has an advantage. It would appear, though, that ANGERCOLON's not quite ready to push off. I think he's going to wait for both the shields and the 2 armor to finish or 1 armor for air to finish. Getting that gravity boosters. Is that the... I believe that's the observer speed. Blink's going to be handy too. Some macro hatches coming out of Stipth. He's grabbing a 5th. He's already grabbed a 4th. Totally the right call here. You want to be able to constantly re-macro your units. The unit composition that ANGERCOLON has right now is something that can only fall to waves. I don't think Stipth's going to win in a straight up and down battle. He's going to have like 3 battles to completely destroy this force. But that's totally normal for Zerg. That's how Zerg's supposed to be played. Is all going to come down to multiple Corruptors being built as a reaction. Once the current force that Stipth has goes down, it's going to free up a bunch of supply that can get out a bunch of Corruptors. Really good call here, getting that level 3 Zerg missile. Hopefully we'll see some air upgrades too, because this force is really going to come down to who can control the air more than who can control the ground, because we can see a huge wall of crawl. Stipth has the ground heavily in his favor. But as long as ANGERCOLON can protect his Colossi, can control the air with these Void Rays, Stipth is going to be in trouble. Looks like Stipth is pushing up, just maybe seeing if the 4th has been taken by ANGERCOLON. I think he expects him to swing off to the left. Always a possibility to swing off to the right. Oh, look at that. He is grabbing a Nexus on the right side. He's got plenty of money, though. Both players floating quite a bit. But I think ANGERCOLON is thinking about grabbing another expansion sooner or later. couple sacrificial Zerglings, freeing up some supply for the Broodlords and more Corruptors. Broodlords, I don't really agree with. I think all that supply should be spent on just keeping those Corruptors up, because the Void Rays and the Colossi are going to be very slow to replenish. If he can keep those numbers down, he can keep the damage per second from his army down, and Stipth can come out on top. It looks like Colon is just pushing forward. He's dealing some damage to the spines, not really being engaged by Stipth. His units now pouring in once the spine crawlers were down. Some really nice defensive force fields on the right side, just in case the army was hiding in the wings, preventing that surround. Again, another push, really expending those force fields, not really catching any units behind, but it's more controlling who can engage and win than it is kind of cutting the Zerg army in half. ANGERCOLON swinging to the right. Stipth really wants to prevent him from swinging up into the fourth, but it looks like Colon's going to be retreating just for now. Oh, those Hydras had to be very careful, really exposing themselves. You can see them just melting away from those Corruptors, or from the Colossi. The Corruptors are doing a decent amount of damage, especially coupled with the Fungals, but man, you can see those Colossi just absolutely going to work. 16, 14... Ooh, 13 kills, really just decimating Stipth's standing army. And look at that, 45 roaches coming out. Roaches, they're good units, but not against 5 immortals. We've only got 4 left. So this unit composition is probably going to eat through a lot of those roaches, especially if they don't engage in one big ball. And they're not supported by multiple Corruptors, only a handful out right now. Oh, look at that, another huge swell. That's very good. A couple of those Void Rays going down. Oh, he doesn't quite have enough Corruptors to control this airspace, but that is the correct unit composition. Some Colossi are caught off guard. The roaches are engaging them, pushing down. Only 1 remaining. 2 more on the way, though. Remember that infrastructure's in place to constantly remacro, constantly create more Colossi. ANGERCOLON does come out on top, but we're now down to 130 over 129. Both players has a lot of money, and I think Zerg is in the advantage now to be able to remacro and take out this unit composition, but only 2 Corruptors on the way. He needs more Corruptors. Another huge swell of roaches. They should be able to take down that Colossi. They do, and content with that, they pull back. They've also saved the fourth, even though all the defensive mechanics are down. It looks like at the same time as that aggression, ANGERCOLON has succeeded in keeping his Nexus up. 7 more Corruptors on the way. ANGERCOLON's going to have to fight very hard to keep his air superiority up. The Stalkers will definitely help that, adding more of them in. The Immortals are no longer being produced. It's purely Colossi coming out of the robotics facility, which is great. But he's going to have to rely on those Stalkers and the Void Rays to take out the Roaches, which you can just see are pouring over the map. A little bit of harassment, a couple of suicidal zealots. Again, that's keep that supply down, but also keep the roaches just mispositioned as ANGERCOLON swings north into that fourth to finish the job he started. That fourth is definitely going to go down, as all those roaches were in completely the wrong area. Really good play from ANGERCOLON. 4 of the 7, I think, Corruptors engaging. Only 4 remaining now. Check out that unit's lost head. Good lord. It's well over half in the favor of ANGERCOLON. Again, this death build sort of thing really favors Stipth to constantly remacro, constantly throw wave after wave against ANGERCOLON, keeping him away from that critical mass of units which he's achieved. And with this death bulk, Stipth is really behind, especially with these Broodlords. The Corruptors would be such a better choice than the Broodlords. Broodlords do so much damage on the ground, but he's got Blink Stalkers to deal with them, and the Broodlings just get melted by the Colossi. What he needs to do is take out the air, and unfortunately he's not. He's just stagnating on 200 supply, but slowly getting his money back up. I remember just a couple minutes ago they were both at 3k supply, but with the natural almost being mined out, the main almost being mined out, probably the third is too. Yeah, third only has 3 places left, so it appears that the only mining base is that third on the bottom. The drone that was going to try to catch the fourth or the fifth has gone down. Another small swell of zealots designed to pull off Stipth's Roach Army succeeds again, really exposing those Broodlords. The Broodlords caught completely off guard, as were the Colossi, but some quick reactions from ANGERCOLON saves all those Colossi, get them back into the middle of the ball, and these Roaches are absolutely going to be decimated. The Stalkers doing their additional damage against Armored, and then the Void Race just focusing them down like no one else's business. Stipth is tapping out. I agree. He definitely got outplayed on this one. Out-mechanicked, I think. Was a really clean build from ANGERCOLON, a very safe build, I think. He was never really in danger, unless it was going to be like an all-in bust in the first couple of minutes to take down this wall. I think that was the only time that this build is really delicate. Otherwise, it's very rambunctious. The only mining base that Stipth had was this fourth, I guess. But ANGERCOLON had just taken his fourth. It's fully saturated, fully mining, as is his third. Just really well done. And then again, that unit's lost tab 3 times the amount. This is intimidating. Let me know what you guys think. If you can think of a better way to deal with that unit composition, I'd be very thankful to hear, because I play Zerg and I don't want to come up against this. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary.